Hello ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and welcome to the first impressions video of Minecraft Legends, the latest game in the Minecraft universe. Minecraft Legends has just released at the time of this recording, and I wanted to give you a proper idea of what the game plays like, and whether it'd be right for you. To start off with, Minecraft Legends is not the same as the base game, which is to be expected, but it's also very different from Minecraft Dungeons, the procedurally generated dungeon crawler released a few years ago. Now that one was much more of just a loot-based RPG, where you make a character, customize them, and then go defeat the big bad wizard. This game is what's known as an RTS, or real-time strategy game. Think something like the original Warcraft or StarCraft. So the idea is you have your base, you gather resources, and you go attack enemy bases, but they kind of mix up the formula here and there with a bit of Brutal Legend, if you've ever played that, featuring Jack Black. Yes, the Jack Black from the Mario movie. So the reason I say it's a mix of Brutal Legends and StarCraft is because StarCraft is very overhead overview of your units. You can see the dozens of units you're controlling and spread them out all over the map to try to defeat your opponent while gathering resources. Whereas with Brutal Legend, you play a much more on-the-ground form of Jack Black, guiding smaller units across the battlefield, attacking small outposts before hitting the enemy base. That's kind of the formula they were going with in this game. So you play as the chosen hero selected by the three gods because their world is in trouble from the invasion of piglins. Now, I have not played Minecraft since the original beta before it was actually fully released, I think in 2011, I could be wrong. So much of this is very new to me, and I don't know how much is lore friendly, though I imagine most, if not all of it is. I'm also ancient, so it felt really weird playing a Minecraft game again. Regardless, you go as the chosen hero to defend the world against this invading force, and to do that you're given these small little fairies, which you can set up to help gather resources for you as well as create spawners for your allies. So after selecting your hero, you do a quick tutorial, and then you're sent out into the world to defeat the enemy. Now the interesting thing to me about this is you're purely mounted on your horse, and you can swing a sword, but there's no other way for you to actively engage with the environment. You have to send out your fairies to gather wood, stone, and other resources for you, and then create spawners for allies, but then you're just kind of left to command them as to where to go. It feels a little uninvolved, and I understand that an RTS can either feel completely hands-off, or is the most micromanagement heavy thing in the world. I feel like they move too much towards that hands-off feeling than they maybe needed to. I would have liked a little more variety in what the player themselves could do, other than just commanding and creating different units. But we're gonna get a little more into that. The cutscenes are super well voice acted. The animation looks amazing, and again, I have not played Minecraft in many years. I'm sure the actual game could just look this good. And by the actual game, I do mean just Minecraft itself, because this game looks really pretty. I love the little cell shading touches here for the environment that makes it look really nice, and just gives it that more stylized feeling so it doesn't feel like it'll age super terribly. Not to mention the animation is just great, especially in the cutscenes. But to get back to the gameplay, you're first tasked with going to help out a village that's being attacked by the piglins. So you go there, you put some spawners down, you spawn your allies, and then you go defeat the piglins. After that, you construct a building to help repair their well, and then suddenly you're tasked with going to the next village, so on and so forth. And it's an interesting design too, because it's a semi-open world with a fairly large map for the most part, definitely larger than I was anticipating, that lets you just kind of free roam around, with the idea that you have to go help the villagers who are being attacked by the piglins. But outside of that, it's your job to collect certain resources and place spawners wherever you feel is necessary. So one thing about those spawners is, and one thing about those resources is, whenever you place a collection box down, it will only collect until that resource is depleted. So it will tell you how many stone or wood or coal or other resources you're able to obtain from that area, and once that's gone, your resource gathering disappears in that sense. So you're able to put the box down in other locations. And you use these resources not only to spawn new allies, but also for a bit of basic building, so you can build ramps or bridges to get across certain gaps, and you have to build defenses at these villages. This is where I thought it was really interesting, because RTS is primarily based around setting up camp and then defending your position from your opponent, and then taking their position. But with Minecraft Legends, it's much more open. So not only do you have this more open environment, you can collect resources from anywhere, you have villages in static positions, but it's your job to set up defenses how you see fit. Whether or not you surround the whole town with archer towers, or just put up walls, a gate, and a couple archer towers to keep them safe, and then kind of move on from there. The idea being it's a little more open world RPG mixed with an RTS, and I don't know how I feel about that. So at the time of recording this audio, I put about an hour into the game, just to get a feel for what I'd be doing, and an understanding of kind of what direction the game is going to go in. and it just felt a little bit off. So after defending a few villages, setting up some defenses, I was tasked with attacking piglin outposts, so just small little territory that you go in, set up spawners outside of, and then, you know, clear out their spawners as well as any defense towers they may have. And once you've cleared all of their buildings and their creatures, you've officially cleared that area. That means there'll be less enemies spawning in that area as far as I can tell. After clearing a few of those and then helping out another village, you're tasked with going to a big piglin base, which I was thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting, right? It's a big fortification, you have to break down their walls, you have to really think about how you want to get in there. And then the game does something I wasn't expecting. It gives you traditional mobs to use as allies. Up until this point, the game has just asked you to work with allies you've been able to spawn yourself. But during a cutscene that I will be showing, the traditional enemy mobs from Minecraft, so skeletons, zombies, creepers, all start attacking the piglins under the guise that they watched you attack them, therefore they're going to try to defend their homes alongside you, so then you're able to recruit them.
The dark sky is fueling the piglins' aggression. What can we do?
Look!
What's happening? How did they learn to fight?
By watching our hero.
Now I will be talking about like the controls and basic game mechanics in just a little bit, but all you need to know right now is you can control these mobs alongside your regular allies, and it seems like they respawn at a pretty decent rate, at least for this one scripted encounter. So then you take these mobs along with your allies to try to take down this giant fortification, which I did find fun, if not a little tedious, because there were numerous spawners around the castle walls. Then you had to break through the castle walls, where there's even more spawners, and I really found myself getting swarmed sometimes, so I did appreciate having those extra mobs present. Finally, once you get in there, you start taking down the nether portal that they have set up, which is how a lot of their big bads are getting through. After destroying the nether portal, a cutscene plays that shows the enemy general becoming furious and seemingly wanting to set up more portals that you'll have to go and engage with. So this is the point where I stopped in the story because I was like, you know what, that's good enough for me. I looked at my map and I could see, hey, there's a bunch more outposts, there's a couple more bases, and I got the basic feel for what I'd be doing. So best as I can tell, all you're doing in this game is taking out enemy bases and fortifying the villages with, again, walls, archer towers, and gates. I could even see on the map, as I hovered over a village, it said it's going to be attacked at nightfall. So presumably the game will tell you, hey, certain villages are going to be attacked during certain days, and it's your job to go and defend them. But the more well-defended a village is outside of you being there, the easier time you're going to have. All in all, I think it was an interesting little bit that I played. I understand it was only an hour, so it doesn't give me a full view of the game, but it gave me enough of a basic view to know that I don't think you can get a lot out of it. So unless there's this huge second and maybe third act where you go past the world that you're in into the nether and do even more, there wasn't a lot to really hold my attention, and I don't think there'd be a lot of content beyond what I did. It only took me an hour to get through the basic stuff, and I don't think it would take me more than, I want to say 5 or 6 hours to get through the rest of it. Again, assuming there is only one map, and there aren't a whole lot of changes that occurred during the story. I could be totally wrong. As of this recording, it's still too early for me to tell just how long it would take to beat the game, because, I mean, it just came out today. It came out 4 hours ago, as a matter of fact. So I can't just Google how long to beat and know that, hey, it's going to take an average of 10, 15 hours. That being said, it is selling for a price of $50 Canadian, which seemed a little high to me. So I would recommend, if you can pick it up on Game Pass, play it that way. If there's another streaming service that you have where you're able to play it that way. I would not recommend going out and buying this game because there's just not enough there to really warrant its price. Now that I've gone over a basic story breakdown, I would like to talk a little more about the mechanics. So as I said, you summon allies that you then command. This takes the form of a few basic commands that do grow in complexity just a little bit after you kind of get a little more into the game. You can command your allies to group up with you and follow you, attack specific targets. You can, a little later on, divide how you want them to attack, whether you want all of your ranged units doing one thing or all of your melee units doing one thing. So there are options there, but it didn't feel real complex, and again, it felt like just a weird, they want to go hands off, but they also want a bit of player involvement. So it was just a little strange. I don't think they really found a proper balance. Speaking of units, they're summoned through a couple different resources, you know, your wood, your stone, presumably coal, iron, diamond, and they take the form of either ranged or melee units. Now, this game doesn't have a lot of complexity in terms of what the units do. Ranged units are better at taking out enemy mobs, so the piglins themselves, whereas melee units are better at taking down buildings. So this is why you'd want to separate who their targets are to use them effectively. That being said, I did only unlock 4 types of allies by the time I had finished, though it did look like there was room for a couple more. Even though I unlocked 4 types, they seemed to only break down to the 2 basic categories of melee and range, and had different summoning material requirements. So some required stone, whereas the later units required iron. And all of these resources have to naturally be found out in the world, though the map doesn't mark for you where they would be. You have to find them yourself. It just felt like a really weird use of the Minecraft IP. Because when I think Minecraft, I think I'm gonna go dig out this mine, and then suddenly I'm in this massive cave system, and there's mobs spawning, and then I have to figure out my way out without bringing the lava down on top of me, but I'm still looking for diamond. It just didn't have the same feel to it, and was a really weird choice of IP in my opinion. I kind of wish they had dedicated resource centers that you could go to and just tell your allies, hey, mine this, cut these down, as opposed to just letting you do it free roam, because it gave them an excuse to spread out resources in a way that didn't make a lot of sense for the game, but would have made more sense in the base game of Minecraft itself. So you're left with this weird situation where you may have a ton of stone and wood for basic allies, but then you're left with almost no iron and diamond for later buildings and allies. All in all, I think it's an okay game for younger children. I understand the Minecraft IP is geared sort of towards young kids and then sort of towards the people like myself who are in our mid to late 20s who grew up with the original Minecraft and who may still be playing it to this day. I don't, as I've said. But I also think it's not a good introduction for kids because it's almost too complex. They want to introduce you to too many systems all at once, and they don't really mesh together well. You know, you'll be off somewhere in one corner of the map looking for the specific resource, only have to run to the other end of the map to go find a village that's in trouble, and summon allies that you may not have the resources for in general. I appreciated that there were semi-basic commands, but it just feels like they tried to pull themselves in too many directions and didn't just focus on one thing. All in all, it's a weird feeling game that I don't think I can confidently recommend. But I mean, if you're a huge Minecraft player, or if you have a child who is really into Minecraft and you want to introduce them to the RTS genre, then this might be a good shot, though I think they missed the mark. Anyway, that will be it for this first impressions video. Thank you, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between, so much for watching. I understand this is a little bit of a weird one, but I do feel that as someone who subscribes to Game Pass, I'm in a position that I can test out a game with minimal consequences. I know Steam has a 2-hour and 2-week refund policy, but maybe you want to play more than 2 hours to get a good feel for a game, and sometimes you have to. But then there's other times like this, where you can play for an hour and know exactly what it is, how it's going to feel, and whether or not it's right for you. So for the sake of helping you make an informed purchasing decision, I will put out a couple more of these videos because I'm on Game Pass, and I think it's a great opportunity. I personally think Game Pass is a great service, and I look forward to using it in the future. With all that being said, thank you again so much for being here, for watching, for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
One more push and the portal will fall.
That portal is almost down.
Keep fighting! Break their magic!
It's a new world out there.
In more ways than we know.
You've done it! You brought back the sun!
This first dawn warms the hearts and faces of the overworld. We can't thank you enough.
It is true, we have won the battle. But I'm afraid the war has just begun. Destroying that dark magic has brought all the hordes of the Nether to the overworld and emboldened their hunger for conquest. You must destroy all of their portals to save the overworld. You are our only hope.
Now the Allays will collect redstone for your more complicated builds.
Now the Allays will gather precious diamonds for your cause. The Allays gathered quite a few resources off the battlefield. Use them to improve your tools before you set off.
Now the overworld can better prepare you for the fight.
Q key, recenter.
There is a new piglin base in the world. Their hunger spreads like a sickness. This village will need your help tonight. A new piglin stain spreads in our world.